What better way to really get to know the sea than diving right in? Joining me now are veteran scuba divers Bart Malone and Evelyn Bartram-Dudas to tell us all about the sport of scuba diving. We have some real expert divers on the program today. Now, Bart, you've been diving for 50 years?
50 years coming up. This summer would be 50 years. It started when I jumped in a swimming pool and didn't know how to swim, almost drowned. And for my 12th birthday, my mother gave me a skin diving course. And then from skin diving, I went into scuba at the Paoli Quarry, Westchester Reservoir in Pennsylvania. And then in '64 was my first ocean dive.
And you also have been diving on the Andrea Doria, which is a very famous wreck and quite deep. How deep is the Andrea Doria?
It's the deepest I've been on it was 256 up on the bow. You can reach a little over 260 at certain areas because of the washout. When I first dove it in 1985, your work area would be between 180 and 200.
You've brought some incredible artifacts with you from the Andrea Doria. And while you're telling me a little bit about the artifacts, also can you tell me a little bit about the history of the Andrea Doria sinking?
Andrea Doria was built in 1952, sank in 1956, in July of '56. Was run into by the Stockholm. Stayed afloat for a little over 11 hours. At the time, there was 52 people died from the collision, and then Peter Gimbel was the first one on it. In less than a week, he was on it, and the famous photographs, Life magazine.
Now, why do you love collecting artifacts so much?
Look at them, you know. You don't know who touched them, you don't know how many people have dealt with them, but it's just, you need a reason to get up in the morning, to get out of bed, and that's the reason, to get up and just dive the wreck.
Now, Evelyn, you are the first woman to dive the Andrea Doria. That's incredible. I'm a scuba diver myself. I'm in awe of your accomplishment. Tell me what that was like.
So that was a long time ago. That was June of 1967, and I was about 21, 22 years old. And I had been diving with the men that were there in the '66 trip, and I thought, I'm diving all winter off the Jersey coast, and this is in a wetsuit. And I felt that I was better prepared as a diver, which probably wasn't true at all, than most of those men, so I can do this. And then they didn't really want a woman on the boat, so they had to take a vote on that. My friend Mike DeCamp was instrumental in making sure that I got voted in.
What was it like? What was it like to be on that wreck?
Well, it was awesome. It was like I'd never been on a totally intact wreck, and it was only 11 years sunk, so it had all this white paint all over it. Had lots of Russian trawler nets with big floats and lots of fish and sharks stuck in the nets. So there was a pretty swift current, and of course the tides change out there, so we didn't always have a swift current. But on the second diving day, John Dudas went in the water first because we had broken our mooring and swung the other way, and I didn't want to go in because it was so cold getting in that wet, clammy suit, and I dove with a gentleman named Eddie Rush, and here my tanks were leaking. I had a connecting bar up top there, not a permanent one, because I was very poor. I didn't dive it with a pressure gauge either because I was a poor college dropout to take up scuba diving.
That's very dangerous. And of course, people have lost their lives diving the Andrea Doria, quite a number of them. But the man who would become your husband now, your late husband, John Dudas, you and he recovered this, which covers a compass.
That was on the third day of diving, and he knew where he was going because when he relocated that anchor on the second day, he peered in the front windows of the wheelhouse and saw this cover in place. And we did not know that there was a compass underneath it, but there was. And he went in from the forward area, and I slid down the back wall so I wasn't in his way, and I held on to the main helm and watched him take this cover, twist it a little bit, and that took a minute or two because he's got narcosis. This is at 205 feet. And then he put it up on a gyro repeater and reached both hands in and just pulled up and pulled out this compass. Well, by this time I was like, I'm getting out of here. He's going to hand me something. And I had to claw my way up because the Andrea Doria's wheelhouse was totally over on its side, and I had to lean on one pedestal to get to the doorstep to turn around, look. I felt like Snoopy, like looking over the top, going, "Hey, there's another one on the top."
It's an incredible find, an incredible, wonderful thing that you've recovered from the wreck. In addition to wreck diving, there's other kinds of diving as well. Jersey Shore diving is not that easy. But you're both, and you both said, you didn't mind me mentioning, you're both still diving in your 60s. Is this a sport mature adults can take up?
It most certainly is. I teach scuba camps every summer, and we teach all year long. I have a store in Pennsylvania, and we do a lot of families, and we have a lot of grandparents traveling with their grandchildren, which is really fun. I think just traveling with my 4 kids and being able to share that dive time, special time with them.
And Evelyn, what do you love most about scuba diving? What is it about being underwater?
Well, I have arthritis pretty bad, so I can be weightless, and I'm very comfortable.
And people help you if you need it?
I don't carry much anymore. I have to pay off these guys by cooking. But wherever we go, like I'm going cave diving this next week down in Ginny Springs. They're 71 degrees, so you still wear, some heavier dive equipment. And I'm going back probably 3/4 of a mile on a propulsion vehicle that one of my children is now manufacturing with her husband and selling them worldwide.
Evelyn, cave diving, I mean, that's just too much for me.
I've
been diving with white sharks, but I don't go into caves.
I didn't want to go in caves either. You can't get artifacts. You can't bring home scallops or lobsters to eat.
But you love it.
I do, and it's wonderful.
And Bart, you plan to continue diving?
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah, just
you love being underwater.
go till I die, really. And hopefully that's not the reason why I stopped diving, is because I died there. But it's just, it's not a hobby. It became an obsession with me. I was with a dive shop in New Jersey for almost 15 years, and then, I made it for different boats over the years. Dive Boat Seeker brought that boat up from South Carolina,
It's a great sport, a wonderfully exciting and exhilarating sport, and we have 2 real pros on the show today. Thank you so much for joining us on The Best
You're
Years.
welcome.
Thank you.
Now we'll be right back after this short break.